It all started at my baby shower, which should have been a joyful event celebrating the upcoming arrival of our first child. However, my sister-in-law Connie, who has always been difficult to deal with, took her jealousy to a new level, and what she did still shocks me. Let me give you some background. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I've been married to my husband, who is also 28, for 3 years. We've been together for 6 years in total. A few months ago, we were thrilled to find out we were expecting our first child. Since then, we've been preparing for this exciting new chapter in our lives. We decided to host a baby shower to celebrate with our families and friends. Connie, my sister-in-law, and her husband were invited, along with many others. Connie, who is 30, has been married for 5 years and has been trying to have a baby for a long time. She and her husband had even begun IVF treatments, as despite neither of them having fertility issues, they still struggled to conceive. Knowing all of this, you'd think I might have some sympathy for her, but unfortunately, Connie's behavior over the years has been so erratic and mean-spirited that any sympathy I could have had for her is long gone. I've always been polite and cordial with Connie, but she has been cold toward me. Though she used to pretend to be nice to my face, several family members had told me that she often badmouthed me behind my back. Because of this, I distanced myself from her, and our relationship became one of formal politeness, with no real warmth. We only invited each other to events out of obligation to the family. Connie had also attended our pregnancy announcement party a couple of months earlier, where she sulked the entire time. I should have taken that as a sign and not invited her to the baby shower, but I didn't think too much of it. The day of the baby shower arrived, and Connie and her husband were among the first to show up. I gave a small group of guests a tour of our new house, and everything seemed fine at first. As the party got into full swing, I was chatting with some friends when Connie approached me, saying she felt nauseous and wanted to rest in our bedroom. She also mentioned wanting to speak with me privately, which caught my attention. Though it seemed strange that she would ask me instead of her brother, I agreed to show her the way to the bedroom. I figured she might want to apologize for her past behavior since she was being uncharacteristically nice. In hindsight, I should have been more cautious. Our house is large, with a long corridor leading to the bedroom. As we walked down the hallway, passing by a small supply closet, everything seemed normal. But suddenly, Connie grabbed my arm, shoved me into the closet, and locked the door behind me. The closet was dark, cramped, and filled with unpacked boxes and cleaning supplies. It was the last place I wanted to be, as I suffer from severe claustrophobia, which everyone in the family knows. I immediately began panicking, pounding on the door and screaming for help. But the closet was far from the living room, where loud music and conversation filled the air. No one could hear me. I kept banging on the door until my voice gave out, and at some point, I must have fainted from the stress and panic. The next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital. Apparently, I had been found about 20 minutes after Connie had returned to the living room without me. She told my friends that I was resting in the bedroom, which didn't raise any suspicions, since a pregnant woman taking a break during a party isn't unusual. But when it was time to open presents and I still hadn't returned, people started looking for me. My husband found me unconscious in the supply closet and immediately called an ambulance. At the hospital, they ran tests and determined that I had fainted due to extreme stress, likely from my claustrophobia and the panic attack it triggered. Thankfully, I was okay, but it was a terrifying experience. When we returned home, our families stayed behind to try to figure out what had happened. I was too exhausted to talk about it, but my friends, who had overheard my conversation with Connie before we went to the bedroom, told my husband that Connie had been the last person with me. When my husband confronted her, Connie denied everything, claiming she had gone to the bedroom with me to apologize and that I had decided to rest on my own. She stuck to her story, and since it was her word against my friends, no conclusion was reached that night. The next morning, I recounted everything that had happened to my husband. He was furious and called the family together again so we could address the situation with me present this time. Connie showed up looking pale, likely because she knew she was in trouble. Her husband seemed worried but unaware of what had happened. I explained everything that had occurred, including how Connie had locked me in the supply closet and left me there, knowing full well about my claustrophobia. The family was horrified, and even though I had always had a strained relationship with Connie, it was still shocking to everyone that she would do something so cruel. My mother-in-law, Pam, was the first to speak. She admitted that she had noticed Connie's jealousy toward me in recent months. Connie had been upset that I was pregnant before her, even though she had been married longer, and she was especially angry that I would be giving Pam her first grandchild. Pam had thought Connie's remarks were just petty jealousy and hadn't taken them seriously, but now she realized how deep Connie's resentment went. Connie began crying, claiming that what she had done was just a prank and that she hadn't meant to harm me. She said she had intended to lock me in the closet for only a few minutes as a joke, and then she would have let me out and apologized for her past behavior. She insisted she had forgotten about my claustrophobia and panicked when she realized I had fainted, which is why she lied about what had happened. Nobody believed her. I was furious, and I told Connie that I didn't feel safe around her anymore. Her behavior was unacceptable, and I couldn't forgive her for putting me and my unborn child at risk out of jealousy. I gave the family an ultimatum. Either they cut ties with Connie, or I would cut ties with all of them. Connie and her husband were horrified. They begged Pam to reconsider, as Pam and my father-in-law had been paying for their IVF treatments, and without that financial support, they couldn't afford to continue. Pam, however, stood her ground. She said that Connie's actions had shown she wasn't in the right state of mind to be a mother, and until she got help, Pam wouldn't support her IVF treatments any longer. Connie broke down, sobbing and begging for forgiveness. She even got down on her knees, pleading with me to convince Pam to change her mind. I felt bad for her, but I couldn't overlook what she had done. Pam tried to be gentle, telling Connie that her decision was final and that even I couldn't change it. Eventually, Connie and her husband left, and the rest of us were left to process everything that had happened. Since then, my husband and I haven't spoken much about the incident. I feel conflicted. What Connie did was unforgivable, but I also feel guilty for giving the family an ultimatum that led to her losing the chance to have a child. Looking back, I know that I'm not at fault for standing up for myself, but I can't help but wonder if I was too harsh in the way I handled the situation. However, the majority of people have reassured me that I did the right thing by protecting myself and my family from someone who clearly harbored resentment and jealousy toward me. It's a difficult and emotional situation, but I know I had to do what was best for me and my unborn child.